Hello, this is Artem, and in today's video I'm going to demonstrate the capabilities of CAD Toolset, which is a solution partner to SOLIDWORKS. So here we have just a typical assembly, and I'll start by showing how you can effectively use CAD Properties Plus module to manage custom properties. So this assembly contains multiple components, and if I click on Properties Grid button, it will show me the property manager page and the grid where I can just effectively select the components I want to see the properties for. I have an option to select this document, all references, top level, or even selection. So let me select all references, and you can see it instantly loads all of the custom properties into the grid. And you can have more options. So you can specify to, for example, load configurations. So in this case, it's just going to pull this configurations information from all the components in the assembly and update our grid. Now we can navigate through the files. So you can see I can just use this button, or I can just do expand all to see all the custom properties. I can also do a cut list if I want. So let me just show you how you can effectively edit those custom properties. So here you can see there is a material custom property, and where you see the null, it means that this property is not registered for this particular file. So if I double click on that material, and if there is a formula, you can see that this formula is displayed in a cell. And now I just want to copy this formula to all of the files. So what I need to do is just click on copy expression and select the cells, click on paste. So you can see now I see this green arrow in a top corner, and this means that this property is not yet written to the file. So what I need to do, I need to click a green tick to push those properties values. So I'm just going to pin my property page because I'm just going to do a few more modifications. So when I click on green tick, those properties are immediately pushed to all of the files, and you can see this even resolved to the corresponding values. So now let me show you some more tricks. So here we have a description custom property, and you can see all of these values are in uppercase, and for this particular demo I just want to change the casing for those files. And I'm just going to use Microsoft Word to do that because it has a built-in functionality. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select all of the cells, click on Ctrl+C to copy the values, select Microsoft Word, click on Ctrl+V, then I can just select all the files, click on Shift F3 to change the casing. So when I'm happy with the result, I can just copy the values back and place it over here. So you can see now I have a pencil icon which indicates this property has been modified. So in the same way I can just click green tick, and this property is immediately pushed to all of the files. So this interface is good if you want to do some simple modifications like that. But sometimes you're looking for way more advanced requirements. So for example, in this case we have a part number custom property which consists of two parts. So first part is a product code, and second part is a division number. And we want to create a separate custom property called product code and extract that value from over here. So let me show you how you can do this with Properties Plus. I will need to click this button to create new property, and I'm going to call it product code. Click on OK. So this property is appearing in my list. So now I just want to copy this part into the product code. So you can see that it could be 4 symbols, could be 2. So I don't want to do it manually. So I would like to use something like Microsoft Excel to do that, because I can just apply some formula to effectively extract that value. So Properties Plus allows to export the data to Excel and then import it back for editing purposes. So for now I just want to make my view a little bit easier to navigate. So for that I'm just going to hide all of the properties I'm not interested in this particular demo. So I'm just going to click on here, click on select all properties, and I'm just going to untick part number and product code properties because those are the one I'm just going to use. And there is an option here to hide the properties from the view so they do not clutter my view. Now I just want to filter by rows. For that I'm just going to search the values which have a dash in the value, which is a part numbers here. And if I want to search in this particular custom property, I can just specify that I want to search in the part number, for example. So you can see now my view has been updated, and I can export this data onto the Excel. So for that I'm clicking this button, and I can just specify the name of my Excel file. So let it be like that. Click on save. So now I can navigate to my exported Excel file. So it's just going to be somewhere here. Here's my Excel file. I can open that file. and I can just see all of my properties similar to what I saw in that grid, and I just want to use Excel formula to extract that bit from a part number. So for that I'm just going to use formula called left, and I need to specify which text I want to read from. Now I need to find the index of a dash within that text, and I just need to offset that by 1. And now you can see that this value is effectively extracted. So if I want to bring it back, there is one thing I need to do. I need to copy those values and remove the formula. So for that I'm just going to do a copy, and then I'm just going to paste those as values. So I just disconnected my formula, and I also need to make sure that the value I want to import does not have a background, because this is the only cells Properties Plus will read. So in this case I just want to remove the background from here. Now I can just save my Excel file, come back to SOLIDWORKS and click on import, and here I can just select my Excel file from over here, and you can see this property have been loaded into the grid. So I can just undo a push pin button, click on green tick, and now all of the custom properties have been updated. So the easy way to validate that those have been changed is to use a bill of materials. So for now you see they're empty. This is a previous snapshot. So if I just rebuild my model, so you can see all of those properties has now been filled with Properties Plus of CAD Plus toolset. So also one of the benefits of Properties Plus is you can also use it from within Windows File Explorer. So let me save this assembly, and I'm just going to close it, and I'm going to navigate to Windows File Explorer. Click on here, I'm just going to go into the folder, and what I can do is I can just select the folder, and from my context menu I will see a Properties Plus command. So when I do that, it's going to load all of the files within that folder and load all of the custom properties. It will display me in a similar user interface I just saw in SOLIDWORKS assembly. I have few filters, so I can specify whether I want all files or top level only, assemblies, drawings, configurations, cut lists, etc. So let me just select configurations here. So let me select cut lists, and now I can just expand all of the files to see all of my data at a glance. So you can see we have a custom properties for cut lists, configurations, etc. And this interface is actually quite easy to navigate, so you can even see the preview if you hover the mouse and a full pass to the file. You can even navigate to that file directly into Explorer. And in a similar way, you can modify the custom properties directly from here, or export them to Excel, modify and import them back. You can also remove custom properties or add new custom properties. So now let me show you how you can modify the custom property here for one of the files. So I'm just going to select the file I have over here, and I'm just going to click on properties on that. So this is a multi-body cut list development file, and you will see that missing some of the custom properties, which I'm going to fill out now from here. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to select the cut list option, expand. So you can see there are several cut lists, and a couple of cut list items are missing the custom property part number. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to add those over here. So by the way, that file is in context of an assembly, so when you click on file, it also brings the references. So that's why you can see the assembly over here as well. So when I'm happy with my changes, I can just click on save to push those changes back to the file. And one of the important things that at the moment this does not use SOLIDWORKS API and does not consume SOLIDWORKS license. So you can use a standalone version of Properties Plus even without SOLIDWORKS installed on that machine. But now I can just come back, reopen my file. And here's the file I have been modifying. I just want to activate that. My cut list. Go to properties, go to properties summary, and you can see that part number has been filled for all of the cut list items in this file. Let me continue my demo and demonstrate the capabilities of BOM Plus. BOM Plus is advanced BOM editor and viewer for SOLIDWORKS assemblies. So let's see what we can do with BOM Plus. So here's my assembly, and I'm just going to navigate to the View BOM button over here, and I'm going to see a warning that items environment is not enabled, and I will demonstrate how to enable items environment and how it can be used a bit later. So let me click on OK. So it just demonstrates and just showed me the bill of materials for this particular assembly. You can just make it a little bit bigger, and you can navigate through that assembly structure. So you can just expand the items, you can hover the mouse over the icon to see the preview of the file, and you can create multiple templates to demonstrate the different setups of your model. And you can export that to multiple formats. So for example, you can export it to Excel, you can export it to XML as well, and JSON. And in particular, Excel, XML and JSON could be quite useful if you're doing some ERP integration. So let me now demonstrate you what items are in BOM Plus and how they can be used. So I'm just going to activate that subassembly over here. So if I click on View BOM again, I will see this warning, and it just shows me the bill of materials for this particular structure. So just normal bill of materials with a cut list, parts and assemblies. But let me just go ahead and go to Tools, CAD Plus, BOM Plus, Items Library Manager. And this activates some advanced library over here on a task pane. And you can see there are some items in my tree. And there is a checkbox over here, Enable Items Environment. So let me check that. So when I do that, you can see there is a new tab appearing over here. And if I activate that tab, you'll see there is some items. And what I can do, I can just select those items. And you can see they are showing that they are attached to certain faces. And you can see there are a few of them are missing at the moment. So same applies to this group of items as well. And those items are artificial elements inserted into this model, which could be pulled up on the bill of materials. So if I click on View BOM right now, and you can see there is now those items appearing in my bill of materials, and they looked very similar to the standard items, standard components of SOLIDWORKS assembly. So we have properties, they have quantities, and they are listed in the bill of materials. But they are not actually available in the feature manager tree over here. So they do not clutter the feature manager, and they do not affect your performance, because those are not really rebuildable parts. So let me just show you how you can insert new items into that assembly. So I'm just going to fill those 4 holes with bolts, plates and washers. So I'm just going to click on Insert Item command. So in here I have my library, and I can just select the components I want to use. So let's say I want to insert bolt. So you can see there is a preview of that bolt. It could be some configuration, some different configurations, and it's also different properties over here. So I can also do a multi-insert. So let me just insert all of these holes here. I will just pin my property manager page, click on green tick, and it's immediately inserted for items. I see the small pop-up over here, but there is no rebuild and there is no any delay. So I can do the same and just insert for nuts, and I can insert for washers. So now there is a 16 over here, and you can see those items have been inserted. And of course I can edit them, suppress them or delete them, so just like in any standard feature in SOLIDWORKS in here. And now of course it's also available in my bill of materials. So let me also activate the top assembly. So this subassembly is inserted several times, 4 times here, and if I go to View Bill of Materials, I will be able to see those items here as well with the quantity. But one of the good benefits of BOM Plus, it also allows you to create a flat BOM. So in here, if I just want to pull a bolt list, a hardware list of all of my components, I have a template over here, which is just going to collect all of the information from all of the bolts on all of the levels and present them as a flat number. So in this case, it's a 64 for each of those hardware components, because I have 4 instances of subassembly over here. Okay, so let me continue. There are actually even more things you can do with items. And now I'm just going to demonstrate how you can create a paint item in your part. Okay, so this is my sheet metal part, and I just want to apply paint, so it is available in my bill of materials. I'm just going to go insert item and select the paints from my library. So I have some paint available for me, and I want to insert it into the body. if I try to select body from the tree, it says that this is not supported, only face is supported. Okay, so I'm just going to select face for now, and I'm just demonstrate how you can update that. So you can select a type of the color you want to use, and I just want to show you that this is a configuration of that item, very similar to what it is in SOLIDWORKS. When I change it, it's changing these properties over here. So let me select this like that, click on green tick, and now the paint is inserted. Let me now go ahead and show you how this library item is stored and how it can be modified. So for that, let me just activate the library. So for that I can just click on this button. So all of the items are actually files in your folder. So there is no database backend or something, so it's very easy to manage and change. So here is my library, and if I activate two panes, I can see metal panes, and this is my paint. So what I do, if I just double click on that, I will be able to open the editor for this library item, and I can modify its parameters. It's here. So again, very simple grid where you can specify what configurations you want. You can add new properties if you want. You can change preview and icons. But also there is a possibility to create a custom quantity formula. So I would like to use an area of the elements I'm attaching the to calculate my amount of paint I need. So in here I have some formula, which is basically taking the area of the element, doing some calculation, and this is produced as a number I need to put into quantity. There's also an option to specify filter. So as I mentioned, I want it to be attached to bodies as well. So I'm just going to change that over here, click on save and close. So this one is going to be my paint item. So I can actually create even a new one. So I can just go to here, and there is a new, and you'll see there is a new BOM plus item definition file. So you can just create that to create new item, or I can just make a copy. So let's say there is another supplier also offering me a 600 grams metal spray paint. So what I do, I want to add it to my library. So I'm just going to copy that file over here, and maybe I just want to make it a bit of a rename. So I'm going to put it at 600 grams, name it like that, click on here, double click to edit. Okay, so let me just do a few modifications here. So first I want to change the name to 600, and I'm going to change that part number. So this is actually going to be different. Okay, and price is going to be different as well. So it will be 45.25. So it will have exact same colors, but I'm just going to change the formula, which is calculating the amount. So obviously I just need to divide it by 600 milligrams. And I can also change the preview. Just click on browse, and I just need to select the file, just the image, and this one is just going to be 600 over here. So I can save it. Also very important step here when I make a copy of the file is to reset IDs. All the items here have a unique IDs. That means that if you rename the file, they're not going to break your models. So for that I just click on reset all IDs and click on save. Now this item could be reused. So here I just need to click on that button to reload my library. So the library is reloaded, and now I can modify the definition of that item over here. Click on edit, and I'm just going to change it to body. So I can just select the body now, and if I look at my bill of materials, it is now using that formula to calculate the amount of paint I need. So it actually get it to 15. So because it is attached to the body, to the face, whenever I change my geometry, it will going to be dynamically updated. So let me just quickly change the size of that model. Let's stay to 15 meters. I just need to rebuild it now. And if I look at the bill of materials, there is a new number over here now. So it is calculated based on the new geometry. If you remember, we have added new item into our library, so let's change it. So let's go to edit, and now let's change it. So because we have quite a few of this here, so I just want to put it to 600. Click on green tick, click on view BOM, and now it's a new item over here, and I have a different, I need a different amount of that paint in here. So let me just undo the modifications of the model size. So it is back to 12 meters, and if I look at my BOM, that's going to be correspondingly updated straight away. You can also create an items with a custom quantity. So let me go back to my subassembly. And in here, I just want to insert a new item for the adhesive. And I'm just going to click on Insert Item. In the consumables, there is an adhesive. And I'm also going to use a multi-insert. So I already have a pre-selection for all of my faces, so I'm just going to click on that. So all of the 16. And I can override quantity. So let's say I just need a half of that per each hole. I click on that, click on green tick, and it is again added to my library. And I can just take a look at my bill of materials. And you can see this adhesive is now over here within valid quantity. Similar to Properties Plus, BOM Plus is also available from Windows File Explorer. So let me just save this model and activate my Windows File Explorer over here. So I will also see the BOM Plus command under the assembly context menu. And again, it will going to bring me very similar user interface I just saw in SOLIDWORKS, and I'm able to navigate my bill of materials in exact same way. So you can see here, all of my files are here, and of course even the item information will also be available in this bill of materials, just over here. There are also different types of templates. So for example, I just showed you before, I can just see all the hardware components over here. And for example, I can see all the purchase components over here, so which is including the hardware and my consumables. So let me just show you how you can easily create your own templates for bill of materials. So I'm just going to navigate to templates location. Similar to items, the templates are files not connected to database, so you can just very easily create any new item or modify items in your library. So also they're available under the new command BOM template file, and you can also copy the template if needed as well. So for this one, I'm just going to make a copy of the hardware template, and I'm just going to name it consumables. Very similar way, I'm just double click on that to open this in editor. So here I can just change the name. I can specify the type of the bill of materials I want to create. That could be a flat, where all of the items are calculated on the top level, indented, and top levels only. I can also configure how I want to identify my model, so I can use file paths, configurations, or component references, and what of the items I want to include into my BOM. So for my consumables, I'm just going to use a BOM plus items, so I selected that, and I can also create a custom filter. So in this case, I want to filter out the hardware components and only show consumables. For that, I'm just going to use a property called type, and in this case it sets to hardware, and I just want to change it to consumables. I just need now to ensure that my consumable items would have that custom property over there. So I can also modify my parameters, my columns if I want. So you can just have multiple ways to create your data. So you can use names, configurations, property, or even a formula to get a dynamic calculation of your value. You can also group the items based on that property. Okay, now we can click on save here, and we can now come back to my bill of materials, and I can just update templates. So you can see there is now a new template called consumables. So we can see there is one item in my consumables template, which is my adhesive, but there is no paint. And let's say I want to see a paint in that list as well. So let me just show you how you do that. So for that, I just need to make sure that the paint contains a property called type, which will equal to that CNSM consumable. So it's going to be filtered by my template. So for that, let me navigate back to my paints over here. And now I need to add a property type. I need to add it to both paints. I'm just going to do it for my 600 because this is what is inserted to this bill of materials. And here, just click on add property, type, and just call it. Click on save, close. And now if I click on bill of materials here, So you can see that paint is now included into my consumables. So of course you can also export the data from here. So let me just show you how you can export that bill of materials to an Excel, for example. Boom. So that exported. Let me show you how it looks. Yeah, it's here. Export can also be automated through the command line. For that, I will just start a command line tool and paste the command. This is going to export the bill of materials to XML format from one of the files in the folder, and it's also not using SOLIDWORKS API to do that. So you can see here we have our XML file, and this one could be quite useful if you have an ERP integration, because unlike Excel or CSV, XML files are well fit for bill of materials. Also, one of the experimental modules in CAD Toolset related to the advanced automation of paint area calculation. So I have demonstrated to you the item which is using the simple formula to calculate the approximate amount of paint required, but that might not be very precise. So let me show you one of the modules in CAD Toolset which has a bit of an advanced options. So let me activate that part over here. Alright. So there is a calculate paint area, so I click on that button. This is an experimental feature. So this one allows you to calculate the area based on the simulation of the spraying. So what you can do, you can specify what is the approximate distance between the spray rays, and you can just specify the directions you want to spray it from, so like this. So then you can click on the recalculate button, and the tool will simulate the spraying and will only calculate the area of the face which actually going to be hit by that spray. So all of the faces which are internal, maybe behind some other component in the assembly, are not going to be included. So you can see here just showing me the approximate area of the paint face, and some of the faces are not included, like these ones. This is because those are just hidden behind those faces. Of course you can create a custom array, so you can create custom areas to include those faces as well. So when you click on green tick, the paint area is added to my custom property, and I can use it in my other output. It also might be required to batch export material mass properties information from the assembly. Unfortunately, there is no built-in way in SOLIDWORKS to do that, and if you want to export the mass properties, you have to click through each component and activate mass properties dialog and export those values. CAD Plus brings a feature there to automate that called Components Evaluation Report, and it allows you to export multiple information from all components, selected components, or just this assembly, for example. And you can also export it relatively to the coordinate system, and you have quite a few options to what you want to include. So we can include something like a bounding box, materials, axis of inertia, density, volume, etc. So let me just select a few components over here in the graphics view, and then I click on green tick. I'm just going to collect this information and show me the result in the grid interface. So you see 3 files have been processed, and we can see all of the components over here. You can also additionally include the custom properties if you want to add this onto the report. Now you can export it to Excel or CSV file. So let me just do that. Call it mass PRPs, for example. Click on save. And now our report has been exported. And we can just open our Excel file. It's just over here. And you can now use that information to do your further calculations or reporting. There's another batch tool available in CAD Plus, and this one is to automate the exporting of flat patterns to the laser cutter. So here I have few files which are either sheet metal or plates, and if I want to batch automate export, I can activate export flat patterns command. So similar to the previous interface, I can just select a specific filter, or I can just select bodies. So I have an option to export sheet metal parts, weldment, all bodies like solid bodies, and also a flat plate. So for example, the flat plate, if flat plate is identified, it could be a sheet metal component which does not have a sheet metal feature. So for example, just an extrude, and CAD Plus can find that plate, find its face, and find the best orientation to export. You have a very flexible naming convention to when you want to output your files. So here you can just use multiple placeholders to form your file name. So let's say in this case we're going to create a subfolder called DWGs, and we're just going to use the file name of that original file as a part of the name of my output. I can modify that, of course. So let me just keep a file name, a body name, and a quantity, and I can just, let's say, replace it with X to be the file name. You can also specify some options here, what you want to include into your output, and you can also do a custom node to be added directly to your output DXF or DWG file. So we can also configure what the value of that node. So in this case, let it be file number and file name, and we can also add a value of, let's say, custom property. Let's add the value of the custom property called part number into our node. We can configure the look of our node, so we can change the color, for example, let's put it yellow. We can change the location of that and the orientation, and if we want, we even can specify the custom font. So when we click on green tick, the tool is going to collect all of the files in this assembly, and it's just going to run the export process in a batch mode. We can track the progress of our operation, so you can see all of the files here are going to be exported. So on the process complete, you can see the status of our output. If there is any error, it will be shown in the report. And we now can click on the link to open the output result and review the result. So you can see all of our files are named according to our naming schema. And if you would open some of those files here, we will see there is a note in the file. So just like this. And let me just open another one. Like this. So you can see there is a file name and also the part number in the brackets. So let me continue. So sometimes when you're going to extend a functionality of your SOLIDWORKS, you might be using the macros, and you can create a custom macro buttons in SOLIDWORKS to hold your macros, but it might not be the best way to manage that library. So you might want to share this with your colleagues. You might want to show them in a toolbar or menu. And CAD Plus has a feature called Toolbar Plus, where you can effectively manage your custom library. So you can create the custom toolbars, you can create associated behavior of those macros, you can even pass parameters to those macros. And those can be triggered by button click or any of the most common events in SOLIDWORKS. Just every time you open the document, you want to run a macro. So here I have created a macro which is going to open the associated drawing for my file. So this macro is downloaded from a code stack, so you can take a look at the codestack.net, which has hundreds of macros which could be useful in your day-to-day work in SOLIDWORKS. So SOLIDWORKS is an option to open the reference drawing. So if I click on here, and there is an option called Open Drawing, if I do that, it will find the file with the same name, which is in the same location in the original file. So unfortunately, that's not always the case. So in my example here, this assembly has the drawings in the subfolder called drawings, and its name slightly different. So it's actually using the BOM, the suffix. So this command in SOLIDWORKS does not actually open the drawing for me. So this macro over here is actually more advanced. So it's going to scan the directory and find all of the drawing based on the references. So if I click on Open Associated Drawing command, it will find the drawing for me and it's going to open it. So you can see it's quite simple to use that macro if it's looks like it is an integrated feature in SOLIDWORKS itself. So we are over here. So now let me demonstrate you another feature available in CAD Plus. So maybe you want to insert a QR code to identify your document. So CAD Plus has a feature to insert QR code into your drawings. So you click on that, and you have a property manager page where you can create data you want to associate. So you already saw that control in my previous example here, where you can just create flexible placeholders for your data you want to output. So for example, let's say in this case I want to create a file path and I want to insert it as in the QR code. So I can do that like that. I can just configure the location and size of my QR code. So it'll be 50 millimeters, and maybe I want to put it on the different side here, and I can just slightly change the location of that. So when I click on green tick, that QR code is going to be inserted into my drawing. Let me save it. But what is also important that CAD Plus QR code can work with the drawings in the detailing mode. So here I have a drawing of a full assembly, which is a bit more complex, and it will take more time to load the drawing. You might have a drawing which could be gigabytes in the size, and it takes minutes and minutes to load those drawings. So you might be utilizing the detailing mode. So let me open that drawing in the detailing mode. So you can see SOLIDWORKS is able to load that document pretty fast, and I can also activate that insert QR code command, and I can use the same logic over here, but let me just change it a little bit. I actually want to pull the value of the custom property model number from my corresponding assembly and insert it into the QR code, even though this file might not be loaded into the memory. So for that, I'm just going to use the custom property command and click on model number. This is the custom property name I'm going to pull. And I want to open it not from a drawing, but from the drawing view referenced by a drawing, basically from an assembly. I can click on that, I can click on green tick, and CAD Plus is able to read that information from a custom property even though the drawing is opened in the detailing mode. And furthermore, you can save that information while the drawing is in the detailing mode. So let me continue and show you how you can automate an exporting of the file through Batch Plus. Batch Plus is a utility which can automatically run macros on multiple files in the folder or in the assembly. And this utility has a built-in resilience, so whenever SOLIDWORKS crashes or hangs, it can restart SOLIDWORKS and continue. So I have downloaded that another macro from codestack.net, which allows you to export files into the PDF format. So what I need to do is I need to start the Batch Plus utility, which is a standalone tool, which could be found in the program's files. So when you click on that, you're able to configure your working area. So we're going to create a new job, and here you need to specify what we want to export. And you can just drag and drop a folder, for example, and run this macro on the folder, but you can also run the macro based on an assembly references. So let me just drop the assembly over here, this one. And I have a few commands, so I can just configure the way my work will be run. So I can add a macro, and I already have a macro in my files over here. So I'm just going to do a navigate to the macros folder, and there is an export macro. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to drag and drop that macro into my area over here. And this macro takes arguments, and argument would be the output folder. So I'm just going to use a PDF's output folder, so next to the input files. And let's say as a part of this job I want to actually export drawings. So for that I want to find all the drawings associated with all the components of this assembly. So I'm just going to use this extract references command, and if I click on that, it's going to find me all the references and all the corresponding drawings, and I can select which one I want to process. On a settings tab, I can specify the SOLIDWORKS version I want to use. I can specify a few more options here, and when I'm finished with that, I can just click on play button to start the job, and it's going to fire SOLIDWORKS application, and it's going to load that assembly and find all the references, and it allows me to select the references I want to process. Okay, so you found all the references of this assembly and all of the associated drawings. If your drawings are in the external folders, you can add new folders here for your search. For that, I'm just going to untick this one. I'm just going to select the drawings to process, and I'm just going to click OK. So you see, it's now going to process those drawings. It's going to open each drawing and run this macro to output my PDF file. So if you go to Report tab, here's the drawings where we're going to export. So it's actually going to take some time because we're going to open each individual drawing in SOLIDWORKS, and if I have a bigger models, bigger files, it's going to take longer. So let me see how much it's going to take to process those drawings over here. And in our previous steps, we were utilizing the detailing mode of SOLIDWORKS drawing to improve our performance. It is actually also possible to use this mode in the Batch Plus, and in something like exporting of the files is also supported in the detailing mode. So we can use that mode to speed up our process. So one file has been processed and it took over a minute to process this one file. So let me cancel that job, and I'm just going to enable that rapid mode. So this one is going to utilize the detailing mode for SOLIDWORKS drawings or large design review mode for assemblies, and it will try to process those files through that mode. And in some cases, some APIs will not work, so this mode is limited to certain APIs, but something like export is actually supported by detailing mode. So we have the same interface for references, so we're going to select the same drawings, and let's compare how much it's going to take. So it was a bit over 1 minute to process one file in our previous attempt, so let's see how much it's going to take now. So this one file has already been processed, and for now it only took less than a minute, so almost twice as fast. So it took 1 minute 47 seconds to process 4 files, which is actually less than just one file processed in the previous job. So we can also inspect our results over here, so the files are produced, and we can navigate to that output. So you can just click on here to navigate to that input file, and there will be a PDFs folder next to it. And you can see we can just try to open those files from our PDF. And this is the one we inserted QR code in the detailing mode. So let's see that this is actually present on our PDF file. So here's our PDF file, and you can see that QR code is available in our PDF, even though it was inserted in the detailing mode. So let me show you a few more options you have when it comes to export. So some of the files could be exported through SOLIDWORKS eDrawings, so it does not require you to utilize SOLIDWORKS license. Furthermore, eDrawings provide some additional features, such as exporting to HTML format. Unfortunately, you cannot do this through the regular SOLIDWORKS, and if you want to, let's say, produce HTML files which could be opened in any browser for your components, you cannot do this through SOLIDWORKS. You can only do this through eDrawings. So for that, we also enabled a new tool called Export Plus, which can produce an output based on SOLIDWORKS drawings. So let me just activate the tool. So it has similar interface to Batch Plus. We can just drag and drop a files or folders we want to process. So let's process drawing files. We can specify the filter of the files we want to output. We also have some settings. So for example, we can specify the version of the drawings we want to output this through. So it will be 2013. And we can create export formats. So we can have multiple formats you want to export. It's pretty much the format supported by drawings. So let's just do a quick run and just export everything to PNGs, and we can just export it into the PNG subfolder like that. So click on play. So now it's going to open eDrawings and open all of the drawing files through the eDrawings and export to the PNG. So here we have a similar interface for our report. So you can see the files which are going to be exported and the output which is going to be produced. So it's going to take way less time, because in this case it's actually using SOLIDWORKS eDrawings to open those drawing files rather than SOLIDWORKS. So while it's exporting, we can navigate to the drawings folder, and you can see there is a PNG subfolder, and those are the files which got generated by Export Plus and producing PNG files from any drawings, just here. Also, Export Plus could be automated through command line arguments. So this one could be useful if you want to run that process as a part of your workflow, maybe on your server. So here I just want to show you how you can produce the HTML files from eDrawings assemblies using the command line. So for that, I'm just going to run a command line command from here and paste my command. And I'm going to process all of the assemblies in this folder, and I'll export that to HTML format. So there are 5 assemblies. You can see it's here in our log, so you can redirect the output to the file, which could be quite useful when you do this automation through the server. Okay, so 5 files has been processed, and we can now look at the result. There is an HTML subfolder, and there are several HTML files. And you can just open those files in any browser, and you can just use that navigation to rotate your model to zoom in, zoom out. Just like here. Multiple modules of CAD Plus toolset could be effectively utilized within SOLIDWORKS PDM environment. So here I have my vault and some assemblies. And first of all, Properties Plus and BOM Plus tools are available in the Windows File Explorer. There is currently no native integration with SOLIDWORKS PDM, but because those tools could be working independently from SOLIDWORKS within the File Explorer, that means that those can be used within your Vault as well, including SOLIDWORKS PDM standard. So let's here have an assembly, and let me just activate the Properties Plus command. So I'm just going to go to the folder and click on here, and there is a Properties Plus command will be available in the context menu. Click on that. It's actually going to load with the custom properties of all of those assemblies, even though they are in the PDM Vault. So we can see all of these files here are suppressed. This is because the files are currently checked in, so these are read-only files, so I cannot modify the values here. And what I want to do now is I just want to push the project numbers to all of the files in here, so it's just available in one file. I want to copy that. So let me just do a checkout of the file. So one of the rules is if you want to write the properties, you need to check them out. You need to make sure that files are cached locally on your folder. Just doing checkout, so we have a get as well, so they're going to be cached locally. So now I just can go to Properties Plus again. And now I can edit the properties. So what I want to do, I'm just going to copy the values over here, copy, and I'm just going to paste them everywhere over here, paste, click on save. And because those custom properties are linked to PDM variables, they're going to be automatically updated. So now I can take a look at my project over here, and I can activate the data card of any of these files, and you'll see that those values will be propagated. So let me activate something like that. So you can see the project number and project name has been pushed. So let's do it a couple of more files. So you can see all of the files have those changes. So I can now just simply check in those files into my PDM Vault. It is also possible to access the bill of materials information via BOM Plus here. So let's say if I want to export the hardware components from this assembly, hardware components were designed using the BOM Plus items, so they're not exposed to the bill of materials in the PDM Vault, to the automatic bill of materials. So if I would select my assembly over here, so you will see there is no bill of materials, there is no information about the hardware components here, because these are not native files. But if I activate the BOM Plus interface, I can just change the type of my BOM. So for example, full, if I want to see all of the items. You can see there are hardware components over here. But if I just want my hardware components, I can activate the hardware template, and I can now export that format to something like an XML if I want to then integrate it to my ERP system. File has been exported. There are also few built-in modules in SOLIDWORKS PDM. So Batch Plus and Export Plus modules are now available as SOLIDWORKS PDM tasks. So let me activate Administration Panel SOLIDWORKS PDM. And let's say I want to make a change and I want to be able to export automatically HTML file every time I change the workflow. So for that, let me just navigate to my Vault. Okay, and here I just want to create a new task. Call it HTML. I will need to select an add-in, CAD Plus Toolset. Now I need to specify which type of task I want to do. I want to do an Export Plus task. Click on OK. So my execution method is going to run on this machine. So I can have some additional options. I need to select the version of drawings I want to run, the input parameters, the output parameters. So I want to produce HTML files. I want to change the naming slightly, so it's going to be an HTMLs. I will allow to override the file. I can do a check in the generated file automatically, and I can also associate the output with my input file. I can specify the custom message, and I can even do some variables. So let's say I want to transfer the description variable from here. So I just need a description variable, and I can combine the values. So I want to do a, let's say, a variable value of description from my input file, and I can combine it with, say, part number. So let's say I also want to put a variable value of a part number of my input file. So there is a part number, like that, and just want to combine it with this free text. So this is the value of the variable going to be filled automatically. So I can also specify some additional options such as journal. So I want to store the detailed journal about my process. Okay. And because it's a standard PDM task, I can effectively integrate it into the workflow. So I might want to run this task automatically whenever my file goes into the approval. So I need to add action, select execute task, select task I want to execute, give it a name, and I probably want to put it on this transition as well. Action, add action, execute task, HTML. Okay, now I just need to save my workflow, and I'm just going to run a couple of files through the state change. So that state change will automatically trigger the workflow, and it's going to run the task automatically. We can look at our task list over here. So you can see there is a new HTML task is appearing in our list. So you can see a drawing is popping up, so the process is started, and you can see a progress as well. Okay, the process completed, our task is in the list. We can go to details to see the output. If you have any errors, they will be shown in the error log as well. So under the journal, you can see the summary, and you can see the detailed report and all the files which were produced for each of the input files, and there is also some log. So if you come back to our vault, refresh, we will see there is an HTML folder now. If you click on that folder, there are multiple files just produced. You can click on those, and you can see it added the references to the original file. And also if you look at our data card, we can see that it actually brings a description and part number based on our input file. So now let me show you another way you can automate your SOLIDWORKS PDM professional workflow, and this is using the Batch Plus for PDM module. Batch Plus allows you to run any macro within the PDM environment itself. So I already have a macro over here, it's called zip, so I created a task for that. So this macro allows you to zip the input files into one single file and output to the specified location. So let me open that task and just I'm going to quickly go through the properties. You can specify what an add-in, which is a CAD Plus. So we can create a context menu. So this would allow us to execute that task on demand rather than just from the workflow. So we can also specify what SOLIDWORKS version you want to use to output and some other parameters. So for the input files, we can just specify the parameters, the filters we want files to process. And I also have selected that allow users to select files on launch. And what that means that it will show us the list of the files which are about to be processed, and user can configure those files before it's actually going to exporting. So here we have a macro which we're going to run, which is a zip export. This macro is in the vault, and it has several parameters. The first parameter would be an output file for our zip archive, and we're going to put it into the root folder of the vault under the MFG subfolder, and we're going to name it after the common folder name for our input files. And the consecutive parameters are the output types we want to include in our zip archive. So it will produce PDF file and PNG file and zip it. So there are additional parameters over here, so you can also transfer variables, you can specify to associate your output files with your input files, and you can custom check-in message. So there are some resilience parameters and a journal. So when we click on that, let me activate my vault, and I'm just going to run that task on a vault folder, and it will allow me to select the files I want to process. So I'm just going to select a folder, click on the right mouse button, and there is a tasks and there's a CAD Plus toolset zip. I click on that. I'm going to bring me the parameters like that, where I can specify the filters and select the files I want to process. So in this case, I can just untick everything, and let's say I want to process only those 4 files. I can click OK, and now the task is going to be launched, and it's again just a normal PDM task, so it is available in that list. So you can see now here. So now the only difference is going to run SOLIDWORKS, and it's going to open those files in SOLIDWORKS, and it's going to run that zip macro to produce output. After completion, we can inspect the result, go to details. So only one file is produced as a result of this operation. This is a zip file. So you can see that all of those are referring that one file. So let me just show you how that looks. So if I go to here in the root folder of my vault, there is an MFG subfolder, and there is a new produced zip file over here. And if I look at that, it has all of the files I specified in the PDF and PNG format. Thank you for watching this video. Please contact us for more information about CAD Plus toolset.